So this is from a Southampton site. Let me just try and find the place I found it again. Southampton's Danny Röhl desires have been met with Liam Rosenior chance in recent days. But Sheffield Wednesday is tipped to provide the Saints an unrestrained chance at acquiring Röhl. Until last week, Southampton used to have a clear-cut stance on Danny Röhl. The Saints held their former employee in high regard and his growing head coach stature blossomed in the club's future plans on paper. But every Premier League fan is well aware of the competitive on-field nature of the sport where speculation doesn't always turn true. The transfer market itself is an uneven selling journey and strategies don't necessarily stay the same for longer. Evidently, Liam Rosenior has caught Southampton's gaze and the seasoned Championship professionals have been vouching for the former's candidate. Given their first-hand Championship experience, it's natural that Southampton will want to keep the Rosenior prospect open. Still, avoiding a Danny Röhl reunion would present a level of repentance the club wouldn't want to attain. Sheffield Wednesday want to influence Southampton's crucial verdict, is the sub-headline in this. Thankfully, their selection confusion has been eased a little bit by the incredible turn of events. This is because reputed journalist Alan Nixon expects Sheffield Wednesday to promote Henrik Pedersen to fill Danny Röhl's void. I think this is a Southampton sort of like fan.
Yeah, like a fan blog article thing.
That's collated it. Yeah, I get it. Southampton won't have predicted this plot twist when Wednesday conveyed it in their expectations straight away. Regardless, every gifted opportunity must be utilised at this point, no matter how they occur. It doesn't mean that Rosenior can't thrive at Southampton, but long-term opinions are easier to dismiss. So everything else is sort of opinion-based in here. But I wanted to pick out the fact that it obviously pulled the speculation about Pedersen from Alan Nixon being promoted and the Liam Rosenior talks of Southampton, because I'd heard that more and more that Southampton were actually interested in Liam Rosenior. You then have Danny Röhl playing a squad of entirely players that were contracted to the club, looking towards the next season, talking about plans for a summer. You think has something happened behind the scenes, and Danny Röhl now knows that Southampton's not looking as likely as it was. What are your thoughts here?
I think Southampton, to be honest, it's a case of money. Liam Rosenior is free. They have to pay for Danny Röhl, and I don't think they want to repeat the occasion where they ended up in court over their previous managerial appointment before that one that they've brought in to try and save them in the Premier League. They've literally been sued over that. They unlawfully went for him. And if they also, loads of people keep sort of speculating like, oh, they've put a contract in front of Danny already, blah, blah, blah. If they do that, it's illegal. They literally open themselves. Danny himself will be up for prosecution if he's already signed a contract with Southampton. Like, all of that is illegal. Chancery is in his right
Saints
mind
marching,
to take
Southampton
to court if they do that. That's all speculation, obviously, that's happened. It doesn't mean it has in the slightest. But the way everyone was talking is though he was already gone and he was out the door, and I don't think that was the case at all. I just think Southampton we're Premier League, time to bully another club that's not in the Premier League into getting their manager, because we're Premier League, haha, and it's not worked out for him, has it? So I just think that Liam Rosenior is a better fit for him because he's free, and because Southampton will need all the money they can get, to be honest. Or need to keep all the money they can.
With Southampton there, that's obviously from Saints Marching, who's collated the sources. The reason I wouldn't usually cite a source there in terms of, but it's because of the fan sources, so to speak. But because they've pulled in the talk about Alan Nixon and the likes, and because I'd heard the talks of Liam Rosenior, I thought it was worth bringing the topic here. I still think Danny Röhl will be there. Whether they can afford to bring the whole staff in is the thing.
Yeah.
And I think Danny Röhl would want his backroom staff with him. I think Powell's a big part of what happens with Wednesday. I think he's actually built a great team. Yeah. And what I will think will happen, I don't think we've necessarily lined up Pedersen. I think that might be a bit of a reach there. But I could see it being a possibility. And I think that would be the structure. Keep everything else in place, and Pedersen would be if Danny Röhl went. So if they had to spend So they've somehow plucked from the air. I've heard this that it's 3 million at the end of the season if it's a championship club. I don't believe that.
No, I don't.
I still think it's 5 because why? That's not Chansiri. Chansiri wouldn't go. Oh yeah, you can go to another championship club for less money.
What? No, it would be a flat figure. That. It wouldn't be no.
So I think that's a case of no. Southampton would have to pay 5 million. I actually think the plans probably were. I've heard about this court case. I'm not going to go too much into it, and I'll say alleged because I don't know the details of it. But if they are trying to avoid unlawfully approaching someone, maybe they actually had that in the back of their minds that we'll just do a Steve Bruce Newcastle and we'll take him and pay Compo later through the whatever happens sort of thing. I think if there's a precedent for this and the courts actually face the clubs, Southampton are obviously going to have to rebalance their finances a bit, even with parachute payments. They don't want lawsuits ongoing. They don't want that to be a situation, especially Danny Röhl's not a guarantee that it's going to work immediately with Southampton, whereas Liam Rosenior is the free option.
Yep.
And I actually thought if Danny goes, I wouldn't have mind seeing Liam Rosenior here. So I actually think it's probably a good move for them there. And if it means that we can stop for a second and Danny can look for the future and we can build. Because I think Danny came to this club with a 3-year project in mind,
I think so too.
At least. So all this is derailed because of his early success. He's been very coy in batting it away in the media, and technically he's never said anything. He's been nothing but professional in front of the media.
Yeah.
Yes, I can already see comments going, Danny Röhl's clearly spat his dummy out the pram. We know he said that. We know. In front of the media, none of this has happened.
Yeah, so it's all speculation. Right? Where have people got this from? Like, how has he spat his dummy out? It's mad. But then
I think some of it has happened. We've heard bits and the fan forum leaks and etc. and all of that sort of stuff. But in terms of a professional, he's never. He did sort of do there was the Chansiri v Danny Röhl thing in the window and it escalated into that fan forum thing. But it's very much a salvageable project here. And honestly, if I was in Danny Röhl's position with the Southampton thing, I'd look at it and go, yes, it would have been a massive opportunity if I could have probably gone while they were getting relegated and then come back up sort of thing. But now it just looks like there's too much of a mess. I might as well stay here and build for a summer.
Yeah.
And see what happens. So I do think it's less likely that Southampton will come in and poach him because I don't know where you're getting a 3 million figure from. I think it might have been Nixon again. I don't want to put words in his mouth.
When you're dealing with Alan Nixon, I've always found it's best to deal with a bucket of salt with whatever he says because it's very hit and miss. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's false. Sometimes it's a bit of both. So it's like...
I think you've got to... people are quite harsh on him, actually, where I think you've got to actually sort of like give some respect for the fact... I'd say with Wednesday, like 70% of the time his sources are accurate.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. Like, we'll have people talk to us all the time. Like, Jake will have people DM him.
Yeah.
I'll have people DM me saying these things. And some of it turns out to be true, but there's no way to clarify these sources. And I have conversations with Jake sometimes. I was like, we can't just believe that just because who are these people? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we can. The problem I've got is it's the Twitter world, and this is a slight tangent, but of people just going for common sense takes and then acting like they're in the know from it.
Yeah.
And it's becoming more and more popular in our fan base, making a very, very good educated guess and going, oh yeah, that's what my sources told me.
That's gospel.
And then building credibility off the basis of guessing. Really easy guesses as well. And it's just pinch of salt with that sort of thing. But in terms of Southampton, please stay away from Danny Röhl. We actually have a project here. And I actually think he'll be more... if you poach him, he'll be more hassle than he's worth.
I actually think Liam Rosenior is a better fit for Southampton anyway, personally. But
You what? Sorry.
I think Liam Rosenior is a better fit for Southampton anyway, and that's without the Wednesday bias goggles on. Like, I just think he suits them a lot more with his systems and stuff like that.
Do you want to pay 10 million for Danny Röhl and his entire team? Which I don't think is going to happen, because I actually think the team like it here. They like working with Danny, obviously, but there's enough to make something out of that team. So there is basis in what they said. I wouldn't be surprised, actually, even though it's probably a bit of a stretch. When Alan Nixon says Wednesday are keen on lining up Pedersen as the replacement, we kind of do already have a structure there for it.
And Pedersen's been most of the time, Pedersen's been a manager, not an assistant manager anyway. So it's not like he'd be faced with a situation he hasn't dealt with before. It's,
Either way, Jack, I think we've got more positivity coming towards the end of the season than I thought of around January time, when it looks all doom and gloom if Danny left. Because I still think there'll be pieces there. So just a waiting game until the end of the season now, isn't it, really?
Yeah, just it's just how it always is with a mid-table finish, though, which I still think it will be. It won't be. I don't think it's playoffs. I'm sorry to be pessimistic out there, but I don't think it's playoffs. It's 8th or 9th or 10th ish for me.
No. Fair enough.